Chains of Reason podcast, where we link the chains of reason that affects our daily lives in society and culture, including, but not limited to, sports and politics.
Thank you for joining us at the Chains of Reason podcast. I'm DJ Grand, and I'm here with my brother Jerry.
Hello.
And our producer Ryan.
Hello.
Today we're going back to what our old podcast was, and it's sports related. We're going to talk about NBA's load management policy. Jerry?
Well, the NBA load management policy started basically over a couple years ago. What you'll know to basically is resting your players. That's really what it is. The problem is coaches were doing it. Families or dads are trying to bond with their kids, and when they buy their tickets for when LeBron James played for the Lakers, so he only visits Detroit how many times a year? Once.
Okay.
Okay. So dad buys these tickets and he goes there to see who? LeBron
James.
But when he comes here, he doesn't play. And it's back two years ago, Greg Poyapovich of the San Antonio Spurs developed this term load management. It was the first I ever heard it, because his players the same thing. He had those three that he was resting. Then he would rest. He wouldn't play all three. They had the I forgot what they called the three, the power trio or what have you. But he would never play all three. It'd be two of the three until the finals. When the finals came around, they all played. Fans started complaining, and then you had other teams complaining because he's resting the players unnecessarily. Now the NBA has come in with a policy of load management this year, finding teams if they rest their players unnecessarily, as the NBA deemed it to be unnecessarily.
Look, I want to define unnecessarily.
Well, I can't find the exact fine, but if Kawhi Leonard doesn't show up on the injury report and he doesn't play, they're going to get fined.
So they can't have a day off?
No.
Without being injured?
I was looking for the specifics all day, and I cannot find it. If anyone wants to email us with the actual fine of what the player be, because again, you can rest your player if he's hurt, but he cannot be basically a healthy scratch.
So what about playoffs? You've already got yourself a playoff spot, and you're on the end of the season, and you want to rest your players for. I think they do in hockey all the time.
Well, they do it in football.
Okay, there you go. Football too.
Only after clinching a playoff.
So
spot.
can you rest them then?
Again, once you clinch the playoffs, again, this is where someone with the NBA policy could help me out, because I could not find it. Really, all I could find was what load management was, and there's a doctor here who basically did a fitness study, and it's the exact opposite of what people think it is, what load management really is on an athlete. But when it comes to the playoffs, I believe they can rest their players if they've qualified. But then there's the tanking, because some teams are tanking. So here comes more load management policies to where they got to play their players so they don't tank for the number one pick. So everything comes together where the NBA will find you when you play a player who basically is healthy and can play. Especially, and this is what I couldn't find. They'll be fined if Kawhi Leonard misses. You know who Kawhi Leonard is, correct? The basketball player, the MVP of last finals.
Yeah, okay.
All right, LeBron James. But if Joe Blow, you or I didn't miss the game, they wouldn't get fined. The NBA is basically...
So just for superstars?
I don't want to say superstars as much. I want to say players that will draw tickets to the visiting arenas.
Which is what I would call a superstar, but okay.
But the superstar is like the best player on the team as I look at it. This guy's a financial reason why the NBA is coming out, David Silver, and with this load management. Now, is load management... is it load management or is it a business decision? Now, this is funny because... Deion Sanders was talking about load management, and basically, Deion Sanders played defensive back.
Yes.
Okay, they have a highlight where he was going against, I think it was Eddie George. All right, remember Eddie George being a big, fast running back?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Eddie George wasn't a running back that would try and escape to the outside and run around you.
He'd run through you.
He'd run over you. Huh. Well, they had a highlight.
Campbell.
When Deion Sanders was at Atlanta Falcons. This is going into his early years, when it was Deion and Eddie George one-on-one. And Deion just stopped, backed up, and put his hands up, basically saying, Eddie, go ahead. All right, you know what Deion Sanders called that?
What?
A business decision. Not load management. That would have ended, he goes, that would have ended my career and my ability to make money. All right, so basically because he didn't want to get hurt, and that's why I bring it up. This is these players and the coaches saying, I don't want players getting hurt. I want to rest them before the playoffs come, because come playoff time, if they're exhausted, they're no good to me. And we're not going to win because it's a 7-game series, and those 7-game series can be just grueling, especially when it gets into the conference finals and the finals itself. So the NBA came basically out again with a policy that fines a team. Now, the funny part is, this gentleman, let me find his name here, Dr. Tim Gabbert, he basically is saying that load management, to explain it in layman's terms to where I understand it, you ever recognize how a team that comes off a bye isn't really sharp?
Yeah, they're rusty.
They're rusty, they're slow, it takes them a while to get back. He, in his article, and he has a little diagram that right in the middle is average. You need to stay above average all the time. And he used an example of one of the Greek gods who was told that this guy took a grown ox up this mountain to the top of the mountain, but he did it by starting off with the calf. Then equating himself now to one that was 3 months old, and then one that was a year old, and then basically working himself up till he had the full bull by the time he got to the mountain. So he was illustrating that these NBA players, you get hurt when you take time off. When you take time off and you don't play and then you come back is when you're more susceptible to be hurt. So he's basically load management. It's not what the players themselves. He kind of linked it to baseball. In baseball, you got to have a rest. How many players have played the whole season all the way through? It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I went to a game this year and Miguel Cabrera didn't play. And I didn't get upset, but a lot of people were definitely upset that he was not out there even as a DH. Those guys at 162 games, they need a rest. So the load management in baseball never, ever comes up because 162.
It doesn't apply. It's too long.
Well, 162 games, you're going to give these guys a rest. Now, 82 games, that's what the NBA and NHL are. That's still quite a bit. So I get these.
And they're all different different games, too, because NHL season, although maybe the same length, it's much harder because it's faster, hit harder. I mean, you're not hit as much.
I would say it's
NBA.
more physical demanding.
That's what I meant, yes.
But even though it'd be the same as the physical fitness demanding, NBA and hockey, you got to be in incredible shape. And when you take time off, even from an injury, you come back and you got to get that rust out of the game. So this is all stemmed over fans just creating an uproar because LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, only the big stars, as you call superstars, weren't playing. So the NBA goes and makes a policy. The fans are basically furious when these players don't play, especially LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard. It's only, again, I can count on my hand. The rest of the league, they really don't care. But the NBA will police it and monitor that if players are not a healthy scratch, and they do not play, suit up, because not every player plays every minute. But they have scratches, and there's no such thing as a healthy scratch in the NBA. It's all injury, whether they dress up or not, and they can only have, I think, 13 players on their bench, and there is no reserves.
Well, your question is it load management or is it a business decision? Doesn't that depend on who we're talking about? Because I'm sure it's a business decision to the NBA, where it's actually they're managing their players to certain teams. I mean, doesn't it depend on what exactly what business we're talking about?
The NBA gets involved because the NBA's got these, like you call, superstars that attract crowds. So the Lakers come to Detroit, will sell it out to where any other game will not be sold out. Why are they doing that? To LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, if one of those two guys don't play, you're going to have some very upset fans because they're not coming around again. It isn't like they're in the division. And that's where this all stems from. Again, the NBA has to be objective about it and watch the whole league.
What if a guy gets hurt? Okay, let's say you buy your tickets. Hold on. You buy your tickets to see LeBron James. And then right before he's supposed to come around, he gets hurt, and you're not going to be able to see him. You're paid to see him, but yet you're not going to. I don't see it as legitimate.
Again, the NBA policy is if you're hurt and on an injury list, that's not.
I mean, from the fans' point of view, because if you're going to complain about him not playing when you paid to go see him, that can happen for an injury too. That's my point.
I'm going to say it's more psychological because when you know they're hurt, you're not looking. You know they're not going to be there. But when a healthy scratch and you come to the game, you're disappointed, and people have a different way of reacting when they get, for lack of better words, pissed. They take it out on other. It's never their fault. Blame is better to give than receive.
But wait a minute, hold on. if you buy your tickets well in advance, you look at the calendar at the beginning of the year, you see when LeBron is coming to Detroit, you want to go to that game, you buy your tickets then, and then he gets hurt a week before the game. There's no way you can know that.
You understand, hey, he's hurt, he's not going to play because you got this warning.
So what's the difference is my point.
All right, the difference being is I take my kid. Now I hear a week beforehand, okay, hey, LeBron's hurt. You want to go to this game still? Yeah, we still go. And we go there knowing LeBron's hurt. He's not going to play. The other way is I'm going there and we're thinking LeBron's playing. We're going there expecting to see the world's greatest player play tonight. And then when we get there, he's in street clothes. Now, I've spent the money, I mean, whether he's playing or not, but my expectation, that's what I'm saying, is psychologically. It's more of a mental. And they're throwing a temper tantrum because he's healthy. And they want to see him play.
I get your point, but I don't see it as legitimate. I don't see that as legitimate. I see the same thing happening, whether he's hurt and can't play or whether he's held out and can't play. Either way, he's not playing, and you paid for the ticket.
Okay.
I don't see the difference.
The Mike Greenberg side of it, because he will argue adamantly. He
Which side does he argue?
That if the fan pays that ticket, they have the right to see LeBron James play, unless he's hurt.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What a fool. The fan is not buying you're going to see a comedy and you're seeing just LeBron James. You're going to see the LA Lakers. It's not just him. So no, that's not legitimate.
I completely agree, but they say no. I pay his salary. I pay LeBron James' salary. I agree by buying this ticket. And really, I've heard a father, 2 kids, the wife, they all go. It turns into an $800 adventure.
So
and
let's put this on.
James doesn't play.
Well, let's put this on an everyday person. Your employer pays your salary. Can he say now you have to work?
Someone brought that up to Mike Greenberg. LeBron James is not an everyday person.
It doesn't matter.
An athlete is not.
It doesn't
You can't
matter.
put him in that same category.
Yes, you can. He is an employee of an organization.
I'm telling you what the other side is saying.
And I'm telling you that's an illogical argument.
Because LeBron makes so much money, he takes $52 million a year.
The amount of money it's irrelevant.
He is a sports figure representing a role model. I mean, Charles Barkley was clear about I'm not your kid's father, I'm a role model. LeBron in the NBA does not agree with that. They are role models. So, and if I go again, the argument is not from me, but from Greenberg and others. Okay, if I buy the ticket with my kid and he's not hurt, again, if he got hurt a week before, we know it's already been announced. The guy got a torn ligament.
It's irrelevant.
We're not going to expect.
You already bought the ticket. Hold on. So let's take that. Okay, let's do the superstar in business. Let's say Elon Musk gets sick and gets hurt and can't be at work. So everyone who pays his salary can demand something back. That's an irrational argument.
Okay, but no one's paying to see.
His car can always drive him there.
But the point is,
no one's paying.
Actually,
no one's paying to see Elon Musk work.
No, they are. They're paying through his cars,
work, but not to go watch him.
That's his work. That's still work.
No, they're not watching.
He's not an entertainer.
They're not going to watch him build.
But wait a minute. Why is there labor disputes if it's not work? Why is there a labor dispute in hockey?
They're not going in basketball. To watch Elon Musk get up in the morning.
They're going. Wait a minute.
They buy his car. That's it.
And to pay the product that they're watching is a basketball game. That's it. Not who plays it. The basketball game.
The product that the fans now has come to terms is LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, the superstar.
So it's no longer
Steph Curry right now with the Golden State Warriors.
Irrational.
He's out. He's been out for months. He'll be out for a long, long time. No one's complaining. But when the Warriors came to town and they had 3, I forget the name of the stars, they had to play them all because the NBA expected fans, people were going to see the Warriors because they were one of the greatest teams in NBA history. And when one of those guys didn't play, the fans would literally, they would have complaints. Sports radio in Detroit, they would call the next day complaining, I took my kid, I bought that ticket to see LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and they didn't play. And I don't know how many times I've heard multiple callers, them being hurt is a different story. But when they're healthy, they need to be out. I can't call into sick work. They do the exact same opposite. I'd get fired if I did that. If I was healthy, I just sat there in street clothes and I just watched everybody else do their job. If they're healthy, they have to play. Again, and this took a couple years until the NBA made a policy that they pretty much agreed and said, we're going to find a team. And Popovich, which I admire, basically, I'll pay who cares? Take your finance ticket. He doesn't care. He'll rest, and it's resting the players what to do. He'll rest his players for the 82-game season, especially if he knows he's getting into the playoffs, because that is a grinded out, especially a 7th game to get into another playoff, and the Eastern Conference. Well, that would be the Western Conference Final. That's just it's tiring, and so you have to rest the players.
So to him, it's not a business decision. To him, it's a team management decision.
Well, and that's why he doesn't care. I mean, he flat out does. He even laughs at the NBA's load management policy. So, but again, I think it's irrational how the fans are acting. Again, in baseball,
it's irrational that they even
rest.
have this policy and just to placate the fans. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no. That's what they're doing. They're placating the fans that they get their entertainment value because these tickets are. I don't know how many times I heard the people. I've never been to an NBA game, so I can't tell you how much the tickets are. But I hear they're expensive, and that's what was used. I paid so much money, not to mention parking and all this, and the best player in the world didn't even play. I bought those tickets to see LeBron play, and he didn't play.
See,
they're asking for money back in a couple instances.
His hair's falling out, though. Give him a
now.
little bit of
Look, I know this is a different sport, but I bought tickets to go see Mario Lemieux and the Penguins play and traveled to Pittsburgh to see him play. And the day that he was supposed to play, he announced he was done for the season because he hurt his back. I couldn't take my money back. I couldn't complain. I was just as disappointed. Okay, I don't see, and that's an injury. I don't see it as legitimate.
It's it didn't happen that way because I hate the ifs, and you don't like the ifs too. But if Mario just basically announced that day, not feeling up to it, not gonna play today.
There are many times when he did actually
come back tomorrow.
He couldn't play.
Well, he had a back issue. So next time, I'm not really a good example. But one of the I guess arguments were, I can't. If I'm healthy, I got to go into work. I have to go into work if I'm healthy.
Oh, so you don't get a personal day?
Well, those are scheduled.
No, they're not.
Personal. You get that whole. Come on. Well, HR. You got to get so many days notice. A vacation now. You got to give sometimes 2-3 months advance notice to get that vacation. So you got to give a notice for that. My whole point is, and I don't agree with them, but to an extent, if you're, come on, how many times a day?
So now they got to fake being sick in order to get that night off. Again, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, some other people, they'll call and say, my father, we'd go into the factory sick no matter what because he had to pay the bills. Right? He had to pay the bills. What the fans are saying, these guys are now turning into prima donnas, a silver spoon.
They already were.
Well,
turning into.
Now, when LeBron's making $32 million, whatever the amount may be, and he's just a healthy scratch because he's tired, doesn't feel like getting out there. And I understand LeBron, only LeBron, because that guy, up until last year, he played year-round. Year-round. The Olympics, the World Championships, it was just nonstop for him. At some point, you're going to get tired.
Well, my problem is the lack of consistency, because if they're going to apply this policy, then they should do it to everyone. I don't care if you're the superstar or just a lowly bench rider. If you don't play, then the team should be fined.
Do you know who Luke Kennard is?
I'm not up to basketball.
No. Well, good. I'm glad you don't. Because if he was to get hurt, you're not going to hear a thing. No one's going to complain. If he was just to come up to the game one day and say, Coach, I just don't feel like it, nobody would complain. He plays for the Pistons. All right.
And would the NBA fine the Pistons because of this policy?
No.
Then there's the problem right there.
I think this starts.
It's not applied universally as it should be.
With the fans complaining, because again, and see, that's what I'd like to get a person, because I looked for this policy because I've also heard they emphasize more on the Lakers traveling from a West Coast, because they're in the Western Conference, to an East Coast team. Now, if LeBron goes to San Antonio, they play 6 times a year. So if LeBron misses a game, the NBA will not fine the Lakers, because the Spurs are going to see them 5 more times. Do you follow me?
I get it.
Now, when they go out here, they come out here once. So this is the only time these people get to see the king of basketball, and he's going to take the day off. Now, this could have been a back-to-back night where he played Cleveland the night before, and now he's got to play here. I mean, it could be legitimate rest, because what they call load management, I'm just going to say it's rest. They're tired. But because it's that one time and he's healthy, The NBA, no, you got to play because you got to do. We're doing this for the fans. And not David Stern, he may have started this, but Adam Silver, he kind of goes along and makes it worse by saying the fans they own the teams, they pay the salaries. Without the fans, the guys don't play. That's how he basically defined this as we have to give the fans for their money. They're paying that ticket. They deserve to see LeBron James.
If the fans own the team, then what's the point of having an owner?
No, not the team. They pay the salaries. They don't. Yeah, the owners own it. But what does the owner do if the owner doesn't pay the salary? What does he do?
No,
it's a false premise that any fan by buying a ticket pays that player's salary. They don't. But there's a large assumption. I don't say assumption. People actually believe it. I mean, I don't know how many. It's an endless and the passion.
Oh, the level
that
of
these guys come in
world.
And they call and they say, I pay their salary. And that's where they even try and say that they want Patricia fired. Well, I'm getting off base here because they pay the salary, even Patricia's salary, Quinn's salary. They have a right to say they go. It's complete irrationality.
They have a right to say it, but they don't have a right to be listened to. I mean, it doesn't have to happen just because they are saying it.
See, the problem is, okay, I think you kind of described it, because the NBA listened to the fans. And because they listened to the fans, and there's a lot of fathers that basically complain because they wasted a lot of money and didn't see the player they bought it for, that they came up with this load management policy. There's no such thing, because my last question is the NBA the only sports league to implement this load management? And the other leagues, it's kind of like self-disciplined, because in hockey, like you said, once you clinch, you're going to rest your players. And in a way, that could be a detriment, because we brought up, how many times people often wonder why the 8 seed beats the 1 seed. And usually it's because that 1 seed clinched so early, they rested their players, and that 8 seed was fighting the whole way through that they actually kept going.
Not just then. It takes a second round, though, but when a team sweeps and the other team they play against played the full 7 games, the team that swept has the time off and they're rusty. And
I'd like to look at a body in motion tends to stay in motion. A body that's not in motion does not stay in motion. And when they basically clinch early and they rest their players, and then they have a week to 10 days off before the first game starts, those players that were rested didn't play for maybe even a month. So their body is basically stopped in motion. They come back out and they're rusty. I've been noticing that, this is just watching Michigan football, when they come off a bye, they're always slow. I think they'll be refreshed and recharged. Never happens. So I'm going to agree with this doctor here that you really want to keep it going. Load management is always working, never stopping. Because when you stop, that's when you hurt yourself. That's when you come back and you can go to injury because your body wasn't used to that constant everyday going.
It's always hardest to restart anything, even like a weightlifting program. If you stop for a month and then start again, it's the hardest when those first few days when you're starting all over again. And that's not just, just about anything. It's hardest to stop and then start again.
That's a pretty good example. But Major League Baseball, they constantly do load management, constantly, and the fans never complain about it. And that's like the pitchers. Because they pay to see Justin Verlander. They pay to see whatever arm that may be. But how often they pitch? I mean, back when we were young, every 3 days. Now it's every 5 to 6 days before these superstar pitchers pitch.
And then sometimes they hardly pitch because they have so many middle relievers. And so you really don't get to see them as long as we used to see them.
And now you get into where the NBA, I guess Major League is load management because they have innings. So many pitches per game that they will not go over. That's load management. But there is no policy from the NBA commissioner's office that will fine a team for resting their player or not, putting a pitcher in his. How many times have you heard a pitcher skipping his rotation? Quite a few times.
Yeah.
Because of health, whatever it may be. You never heard anyone complain whatsoever because they brought their son there. This is really an NBA-focused policy. And for some reason, the commissioner actually agrees with the fans.
Well, I got two problems with it. The premise that the fans rule it when they don't, and the fact that it's not consistently enforced. If they're going, they have the right to put in any rule they want. I can't stop that. But if they're going to put a rule in, it should be enforced to everyone, not just a select few.
The last fine came to Kawhi Leonard when the Clippers came and he didn't play. I forget. I think in Toronto, and that's where he won the championship last year. So because he won there, and I could be wrong. It may be in a different game, but he was expected to play. And I think he may even have a legitimate injury. but the night before he played, so he play the next night, back-to-back nights. Again, I don't like this policy from the NBA at all whatsoever because they're forcing only a certain amount of players that basically draw the fans to the arenas that they have to play now. The other guys, you guys can sit there, who cares?
They're also forcing the hands of the managers because now they can't truly manage with the NBA managers.
That's where I don't follow the NBA, but if I was, and at the playoff time, I pull for the San Antonio Spurs because Popovich basically gives them the finger. He doesn't care. He doesn't even listen. Even after the press conference, they bring it up, and they do. Why didn't you play Tony Parker? I didn't want to. What about that? You're going to get fined from the NBA? Yeah, so what?
This is speculation, but he has to have that worked out with his GM owner that you can do that. He has to. I don't know. I truly don't know. I don't pay attention to the NBA. I can tell you,
when I watch press conferences, he disses the NBA. I don't care about it. I don't want to care about the fine. Don't talk about it. I'm going to rest my players.
Good for him.
This is my team to manage, and my job is to get this team to the playoffs. And he brought up all the games and the minutes that all these guys are playing, and they need a rest. He even came out and said, I'm sorry, but I don't care if Joe Blow comes from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to see Tony Parker, and Tony's not playing tonight. Not my problem. Should have came yesterday when he played. I mean, that's why I really like Greg Popovich. He's really directly.
I agree.
But the other guys, I think Steve Kerr, I could be wrong. I think he agrees that, the players, he even says the players are bringing the money. The fans are paying their salaries. Without the fans, there would be no league. So these guys should play, especially when they're traveling on the road. Not so much at home, but when they travel on the road.
Actually, that's when I expect them not to play. But okay, I don't agree with it.
No, football only does it, and that's rare. If they're competing for a playoff spot, they're not resting anybody. That's a brutal sport. You guys got.
But if they do clinch, almost every starter rests. If they do clinch,
the first string will rest.
Yes.
The problem with that, and what happens when they come out in the very first game and they get beat by the AC. That's exactly why I believe it happens.
They could be doing it for injury, though. They don't want their players being hurt in that last game unnecessarily.
Well, the Alabama quarterback, and Nick Saban's catching heck for that, and he's kind of funny with his answers. But again, Saban's being questioned in a load management that it was unnecessary. He didn't have to be out there.
Didn't the quarterback? What's his name?
I can't pronounce it. Tui Tagovailoa.
Didn't he come up and tell Saban that I'm fine, let me play?
No, that's not what it was. You're talking about that before the half. It was basically 2 minutes left, and he goes, "Listen." It was 35-7. The game was not. It wasn't 55-7. Let me make that clear. It was 35-7. He goes, look, we got 2 minutes. This is a good time. We get the 2-minute practice. Come the second half, Tui's out. That's his nickname. It just so happened, and Saban was quite. If our line would have blocked for him, he wouldn't have got hurt. But they didn't block him. He has a Boa Jackson injury. I don't know if you heard what happened.
Yeah, he's pretty screwed up.
Well,
messed up.
Again, it was load management because now they're yelling at Saban. Why was he even in there? He should have been out of there. But again, with the press, it's always after the fact, because you can't play guess 22 or Monday morning quarterback because no matter what, you're never going to be correct. And again, Saban said, "What do you want me to do?" He was healthy. What do you want me to do? He should be out there.
I agree.
So I'm not understanding if Aaron Rodgers. Saban actually said this. If Aaron Rodgers was healthy, would you play him or not play him? I would like to think that the Green Bay Packers would play them, but I don't know. He was playing ignorant. He goes, but that's just me. Because I'm going to play my guys up until when I feel secure that the workload that they've met it, their skills are on the top of their game. We can pull them out, and then we can take the backups in. We're not jeopardizing of having to put those guys back in because we just lost the game. And 35-7 isn't a score that what I call a dominating or a victory to where you could just at the end of the half you can bring your backing quarterback in. I completely agree with him.
I agree
so
too.
In that case there. I don't believe in load management, and the press is wrong. But no matter what, they're going to kill him no matter what. Whether he got hurt or not, they were still going to grab because his ankle was hurt. So he'd been in there. They went back to the ankle, and his ankle was just fine. Now, hockey, do they do load management?
From whose point of view? From the team's point of view?
When I say,
they rest guys all the time.
Do they rest players just based on a healthy scratch because, hey, you need a day off? You've just been giving it too much.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Yes, they do.
But is there a policy that basically
no? There's no policy.
Them
no.
For basically, I don't know if basketball has the same system though. I don't know if it's apples to apples because hockey has healthy scratches, correct? Where they sit in the box and they can't.
Those are usually your the guys who aren't good enough to play.
But
good
if somebody gets hurt,
string,
but if somebody gets hurt, they're dressed
and they're in there.
They're
absolutely,
playing.
Yes.
Okay, so see, it's a little different because the NBA doesn't have that option. If they have a 13-man roster, and someone's hurt or a healthy scratch, they have 12 now. So they don't have that, I guess,
it is a
luxury
little
to where
different.
they can just fill the spot
It
up.
doesn't matter. It still should be up to the manager.
Well,
They're the ones managing the team, not the NBA.
If the coach wants to give the guy a week off, let him.
I agree.
If he thinks if it would be best for his team, I think it'll hurt, but that doesn't matter. So the answer to the question is the NBA is the only. I'm going to say they're only league policing it, but every league does it because they have to rest their players, and that's what it boils down to is just resting the players. Because again, it's a grueling. Every one of these sports, all 4 of them, it's a long season. These guys do it again when they're off. They just don't go home and quit. They go right back to it again. There may be a 2-week vacation, so after a while, they're going to need a break.
I agree.
Okay, so I don't like the NBA policy of NBA load. I think it's a joke, but it's the only policy or only league that's policing it. So we'll end it at that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. You can check us out at our website at chainsofreasonpodcast.com. You look at all our social media there and click the contact us to get our email address. Once again, you're listening to the Chains of Reason podcast. How can anyone be enlightened when the truth is so poorly lit?